Recording. Okay, here we go. Now we're on. So I'm back with Mattie, my good personal trainer buddy here, because I've been getting this question quite a bit from girls who've been either writing to me or just in conversations in the DMs or through my coaching calls of how do I lose weight the right way then? And of course, it comes around to a lot of the girls that are going through period recovery are not in a place to lose weight at all. Their bodies aren't ready for it. They're not going to be responding. However, there seems to be just an overall curiosity and fear around, can I ever lose weight again? And if I've been doing it wrong for this long, how do I do it the right way? And I'm hoping that it'll actually help girls accept I'm in recovery now, and I will then be able to, if I'm still not happy with the way my body is, there is a way that you can appropriately improve yourself. So that's why I've brought Mattie on, because she's got more background to give more science on it, and I'd just love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Obviously,
Yeah.
like totally depends on a lot of factors.
Right.
As you said, like you're working with a lot of girls that are potentially in period recovery. They have just recovered their period. Likely that's not going to be a space where their body's going to feel safe for them to lose weight. And if they choose to do that, that's probably not going to be a healthy thing for them, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
that's one thing. Another thing is just really getting like a full intake of like what the person is dealing with. Like what other health conditions do they have? Do they have gut issues? Do they have a metabolic condition? Do they have blood sugar issues? What else are they dealing with in terms of, is again weight loss going to even be a safe or healthy thing?
Right.
Before I even determine whether like, okay, we check the boxes, it looks like we can approach a weight loss or a fat loss, phase. It's still about making sure that that person has other parameters they can pull in. Like, what else are we using for our health and for our like success parameters? In other words, like, are we getting stronger in the gym? Is our sleep improving? Is our digestion getting better? Is our energy good? And so I always give those things too, because those are things that we're watching. Is our period staying regular? Right. Um, and when those things start, like the wheels start to go off of those things, we know that we're not treating the body correctly, right? We're not going about
Mm.
this weight loss thing the right way. That still doesn't technically answer your question. So how do we do it? Well, we make sure that we're doing things like strength training. So when we're losing weight, we want to make sure that we're improving body composition and not making it worse. Oftentimes people go on these crazy fad diets, or they're doing tons of cardio, or they're super stressed out, or they're eating no protein. And so they lose weight. Yes, number on the scale went down, right? Success. But no, they lost all muscle, or they lost mostly muscle. And so yes, their body weight is lower, but now their metabolism is lower and their body composition is actually worse and their health is worse, right?
Mhm.
So we're checking those boxes. Do we have a progressive overload strength training program? Are we eating at least 100 grams of protein for most females, if not more? And we talk through what that looks like as well. Are we taking care of all of those biofeedback markers? Are we still sleeping? What's our mood like? What's our energy like? Are we hungry all the time? All of those things. And then, as hard as it is to hear, that weight loss is going to be slow. So if this is our maintenance, we're going to come right here and we're going to find where we need to be calorie wise, and we're going to be just kind of like whittling away on that weight loss. So we're talking a half pound to a pound a week, depending on how much the person has to lose. Obviously, the more fat mass you have, the more safely you can lose it a little bit faster, but we're still not going too fast. If we are losing weight at a rate of over a pound or two a week, you are getting in such a high calorie deficit that your body is going to start to respond to that, right? Your hunger hormones are going to uptick and you're going to do that yo-yo thing. So eventually your body is going to be like, nope. And it's going to lead you to hyper respond. Some people may say binge. I call it hyper responding, because your body's just trying to get you back to baseline, right?
Right.
Also important to remember that our bodies do not want to lose weight.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have the physiology that it's very, very easy for us to put on weight in modern society, and our body doesn't want us to take it off. So we almost have to convince the body that it's safe. It's
Mm-hmm.
safe, even though we're sort of trying to manipulate it by trying to lose weight. So we also talk about that in terms of being a female. What do we do to stay safe? We don't
Mm-hmm.
fast. We don't go long times without food. We're eating balanced meals every 2 to 3 hours for some, but at least every 4 hours, right? We're making sure that we include carbohydrates. We're not cutting carbohydrates out because that's our safety signal from the brain to the ovaries, right?
That
So
was
it
my
really
next
is
question. It
like
was like,
it's
if
the
you're cutting
manipulation.
calories, where are you cutting them?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So it sort of depends. I do give people like a little bit of like some like safety nets in terms of, okay, I want your carbs to at least stay here. I want your fats to at least stay here. Um, and we just don't get into that like BMR range of calories. Like we're staying at 1600 plus for most females in terms of like that weight loss. We just don't want to get to that point where we're below our BMR trying to lose. It's not helpful, it's not effective, it's not going to be good for your metabolism.
Mhm.
So those are just a few things. And then of course, like back to that first intake session, we come back to our why. Why do we need to lose weight? What
Right.
is it going to be helpful for? How is this
Mhm.
going to improve our health? And that just is a constant, reflection and something that we consistently talk about throughout that fat loss phase. And it's a
Right.
really good journey for a lot of females to kind of learn like, okay, this isn't as easy as I thought, or this isn't giving me the result that I thought it would, even though the scale's going down. So, and everyone's different, but those are just a few things kind of like right off to be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, because most of the girls that you talk to, they're not looking to be a wisp like a Victoria's Secret angel. They're looking to have the warrior body, like, if I have to, I'm gonna jump off a sword, a horse, pull out my sword and slay the dragon. Like they are looking to have a strong body. And I think that, we've been told in the media that the more weight we lose, the more we can see our muscles. And it doesn't exactly work like that, right?
Doesn't, especially most females I see don't have any muscles yet.
Yeah,
So you got to
yeah.
build the muscles. And unfortunately, like muscles don't just come out of air. Like they come
No.
from food. So you
Yeah.
do have to feed. And so first it might be like a little bit more of a build or at least a maintenance phase to get that muscle on your body. Once you have the muscle, then you can kind of start tinkering around with like just that slight deficit to make those muscles pop out. But most females don't have enough muscle to be cutting so they can see their muscle. It's not a thing.
So what about a girl that um has been in recovery? Because I'm thinking of a specific case that had messaged me. She's had a period for, well, actually, I'm gonna zoom it ahead for her. Because when she talked to me, she's only been recovered a few months. But let's say in 2 years, she still has more weight on her body, periods are regular, and she's still not happy with the amount of fat on her body, can't see any muscles. Then she also hasn't been keeping track of her calories because she's, more of an intuitive eater now.
Mhm,
Where
mhm.
would you go with that if somebody doesn't know how much they've been eating and they're not eating on the same meal plan anymore? They're eating when they're hungry, what they're hungry for. Where would you go for that?
Yeah, so that is kind of another one of those intakes too of how do we feel about tracking our food if that's even appropriate. And for a lot of females it's not, like a food tracking app is not going to be appropriate. Neither is like multiple weigh-ins a week.
Right.
Unfortunately that's a great way to just know data. How many calories are we eating average, and then what is our weight doing over the course of several weeks. And that kind of helps keeps us in a safe zone because I don't want somebody under eating too much and losing too much weight too fast. With
So
that being,
in other words, is it more like a backwards design where I'm not designing what I can eat, but it's recording what I already have eaten happily? Is that kind of where you're going with it? Like, and
not necessarily. I think for certain people, it just may not be an appropriate thing at all to track
oh, okay,
food
just
and to
completely
know and to see
completely getting
numbers.
rid of
But I
it. Okay.
think that we have to be honest with like have a little bit of personal responsibility behind it because it's like,
Okay.
okay, if we are not in a good place mentally to see any numbers, but we want to have weight loss, like
We need some sort of data to go on somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are other ways. Like, could we just use some progress pictures? Can we put on a sports bra and a bathing suit bottom every couple weeks and see what
Okay.
our muscles are doing and see what our body composition is doing? Are we okay with like some waist measurements or some other types of measurements? And that kind of makes it a little bit more. And then some people are like, you know what? I can really feel it in my clothes. And I feel like I'm getting better and I'm doing better. And that's okay too. Could we do something like focus on protein? You know, maybe for this person, if we're into improving body composition, maybe we could just make sure we're eating a certain amount of protein at each meal. And that's a healthier mental space for her to be in rather than counting every morsel and hopping on the scale.
Okay. Yeah,
So
definitely
that's
a different
another thing
approach
that you
then.
have to feel out with people, and not everyone, wants to do that. And a lot of girls know they're like, that's not going to be a good thing for me.
Hmm.
So just meeting everybody where they are and helping them find those success parameters that are going to help them on their health.
So step number one is pick a way that you can monitor your progress that isn't triggering. That would be the
Yes.
first step. And
And
then
multiple ways, right? Because
multiple ways.
even
Okay.
if we choose that scale, we're gonna have more than one. Because
Oh
I'll
yeah.
tell females especially all the time, if we are 110% adherent to whatever our calorie range is, to everything we're doing, to our strength training program, it's not gonna go like this. Like, it's just not. Because we have periods, we have water fluctuation, we have nights where we don't sleep, we have blood sugar imbalances, and all
Seasonal
those
changes.
things, right? Yes, can
Yeah.
cause fluctuations on the scale, and it can mess with your head. So
Yeah.
we have to have backups of what else is going well. How else are we improving besides just that scale?
Yeah, and I was trying to tell a few of the girls that I was talking to that although because for some reason, some mental reason, weighing myself is more of a routine, something that I like to do, but my weight hasn't changed in forever. In fact, there are days that it's going up, but it's not a trigger for me anymore, and it's actually kind of something that I take pride in, like, oh, I can weigh myself and it's not psychotic. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like I'll tell you that when I first went through recovery, I got my period back, and then I want to say that I continued to gain a few pounds as I continued to regulate through that first year. And I've been at that weight, and I through that first year I was just mortified. I was like, oh, I've never been so heavy in my life. However, that as the year went on, and I was able to introduce training and stuff again, my body's not the same. Like, I can look at pictures and my weight is the same, but my it's a different body by far.
Yeah.
So it's just, interesting to have to figure out all over again, like, okay, well, I thought that this was measuring my health before. It was not. So now, how do I figure out to track my progress?
Yeah.
It's so anyway, I'm sorry. So we pick a few different ways that we can monitor our progress. And then what you're saying is food. You kind of take it right underneath what you know to be maintenance level. So for me, if I were trying to drop a few pounds, maybe I would eat a few less chocolate chips a day because I love chocolate chips. I put them on everything if I can. But like, do I
Mhm.
need it? No. Does it make me happy? Yes. But I have to find the level of, maybe I don't need 4 scoops. Maybe I could go with 2, 3. And that's like a way of trimming. But I don't have to completely take it out of my life. But I need to find a way of just trimming just a little bit my intake, just a tad.
Absolutely. And you're spot on. And
Okay.
that's how I kind of sell it to people. I want it to work for you, right?
So we don't
So
have to
as
keep
long
starting
as
over.
yeah, as long as we're hitting what we need to, we're still eating those balanced meals, we're still getting our carbs in, we're getting enough fat that we need to sustain health. I tell people, as long as you're hitting your protein, if you like bread more, have more carbs. If you like peanut butter more, have more fats. And that's just an example. But yes, exactly. You're like, oh, how can I just pull a little bit off? And you're exactly right. It's actually not that much that you need just to start seeing things moving, because we want them to move slow. So you are right on the money. Just, that's something I enjoy, and that's something I'm going to keep in, because guess what? Food's not all about nutrition. It's also about love and socialism and culture and all of those things. So it's about that balance piece.
Well, and I guess you probably use mood as a tracker too.
Mhm.
So if people are getting really angry or upset or something, then you're like, okay, we've dipped too low. We need to
Yes.
kick it back up. Okay. So,
Yes.
and I think we touched on this a little bit before, but then if you have the calories just a tad under, how much do you incorporate training
So
with that
again, that depends on how much
on their
someone wants
goal?
to put in.
Okay.
Yes. But I absolutely want people strength training. I'd love for people to get in at least twice a week of some type of progressive overload training program. And that can be simple, of like, well, I don't go to a gym. I don't have any equipment. Great, use your body. We will talk about how to progress that, or like get a
Oh,
pack of
less
$10
body
bands on
weight.
Amazon. Like there are
Lord.
ways to do that, but we do want to be sending the signal to the muscle that like, hey, muscle, I need you to stay around during this process. And we're trying to get rid of fat and not the other way around. So that's why we want to be doing some type of strength training exercise where we're improving from week to week, because we want that signal to the muscle. We are using you, we are not losing you, right? And that's where we go back to losing weight the right way. But in terms of like how much time does somebody have, we can totally make it work. 20 minutes twice a week, you have that, great. And then we can go from there in terms of how much their exercise or what they enjoy doing.
And if somebody is weighing themselves, if they're losing more than a pound a week, they're not doing it right.
So again, that
Ish.
goes back to like how much they have to lose. The more fat mass we have, we might see a little bit more of like some changes those first couple weeks as people kind of change what they're eating. Maybe they're having some water weight fluctuation and we've like, ooh, the pounds are kind of dropping off. But if we get into this consistent pattern where we're seeing 2-3 pounds a week, that's too much.
Mm.
And I would not expect that to sustain
I used to make
on.
it my goal to get 6 a week, and I would succeed. Talk
That's
about
terrifying.
unhealthy.
That's terrifying. I mean,
Yeah,
and in all, I mean, it's you have to be eating well under 1,000 calories to be getting that type of weight loss and
600.
doing massive amounts of exercise, and not to scare anybody, but 5 days of less than 1,000 calories puts you in a very, very scary electrolyte balance situation. In terms of that's where we see hospitalized patients
Yeah.
sometimes become fatalities because their electrolytes are so disturbed. So we don't mess with territories under 1,000 calories. That's not for anybody. That's not even for a 2-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
all do dumb things, Abby. Trust me.
Yeah, that's all. I've told you, I've tried listening to all the magazines, and didn't work for me. So how I think this is probably my last, because I'm peppering you with questions. Hopefully you had your energy up for this one. But in general, most of these girls that want to lose weight are coming from like my situation of extreme calorie deficit, like they're size 1, 2, 0, whatever. They were mostly pretty small, or they were too small for their for what their body needed to be fertile. So how do you determine what somebody should weigh?
I don't,
You
because
don't.
we don't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of girls come to me with a number, and we have to be reminded that society may have pushed that number into our head, and unfortunately, our body gets to make the rules. So we can have these goals. I'll support you in these goals, but the minute that our biofeedback starts to say, this isn't working, we pull back.
And that's
And
tracking your chart, right?
that's tracking your chart, that's tracking your energy, your mood, your hunger levels, your health. I mean, it's one thing to see the scale going down, but you're not sleeping, you're stressed out, your hair's falling out, all the things that we experienced when we tried to lose weight, right? That's not
Mhm.
healthy. And so that is again like another constant reflection of like, why are we doing this? What does a healthy body look like? What does a healthy body actually look like? What does it do? What can it do? And I think that's a hard crossroads for a lot of females. And a lot of females are like, well, you know what? So like it's hard because a lot of females have told me, like, I don't care. I'd rather just be skinny. And maybe that's where they are right now. And it's grace and compassion there. I get it. But also just thinking of the long term, like, do you want to get to the 10 years, 20 years from now, and you're still battling this and you're still like, there's a happy place. There is a
Yeah.
happy medium. But I get it. Like society shoves it down our throat that like, we should look a
And
certain.
and there's a dysmorphia for most of these girls, and
Yeah.
and I can't imagine being a trainer that has to work around around that piece of it and getting them to see like, hey, you are at a good place. I don't know that this is the right path for you. I mean, I
Yeah.
imagine that you have to have that argument quite a bit.
Yeah, and most females are open to it. I do have a couple that put in their heels, and it's hard. It's just a constant battle. But others just feel extremely validated because it's like
Oh, okay. Yeah.
the pressure's off. Like a professional told me that like it's okay for me to feed my body and to rest my body and to exercise in a different way that I haven't, to not be doing like cardio all the time. So I
Right.
think a lot of females feel very validated and very safe and like relieved to hear what true health is.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh. Well, that was fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so
Of
much for your time
course.
and for your answer. I'm hoping, like I said, I think it was last week or the week before, I must have had 7 girls ask me all at once the same thing. I'm extremely uncomfortable in my body, and most of them were in a place where I was like, "Hey, you need to give yourself time because there's not much you can do. You have to keep focusing on fueling correctly and moving in a way that is enjoyable, but you're getting your sleep." And they needed to work on recovering everything else before stepping back into the training ring. And I think that there will be a lot of peace knowing that we hear, we understand that you might be uncomfortable now. We're not saying that in 7 months all of that will be gone, but that there are options in the future, if you want to get back to sport, or if you want to, you know, take care of, if you think that you have too much fat, that there is a way to go. There is an
Yeah.
appropriate way to go that is different than how most of us got ourselves into HA in the first place. So,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you very much, and I guess I'll end it here.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you.